Okay. So through my role as a coordinator at George Brown Polytechnic, as well as through our work at the Atkinson Center, we are increasingly hearing questions from the field and the sector about how to better support students entering the profession. In particular, there is growing interest in the models such as paid tuition, paid placement, and other strategies
Oh,
to support upskilling and reduced barriers to entry. These conversations reflect a broader recognition that strengthening the workforce begins not only with recruitment, but with how we design accessible, supportive, and sustainable pathways into the profession. We are very pleased to be joined today by Kelsey Shay Regnier, Chair of Early Childhood Education at Red River College Polytechnic in Manitoba, who will share the work underway in Manitoba to support education and training pathway in this space. Kelsey, thank you so much for being here, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Kelsey Shay Regnier. I'm the Chair of Early Childhood Education at Red River College Polytechnic in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I've been a chair for about 3 years now, and in that time, our faculty and student numbers have doubled in size. So we are steadily growing, and I'm here to share with you some of the initiatives, some of the programs, and some of the models of delivery that we have being offered currently at Red River College Polytech. First, I will start with our land acknowledgement as I am in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I'd like to respectfully recognize that RRC Polytech campuses are located on the lands of the Anishinaabe, Ininiwuk, Anishinaabe, Dakota, and Dene, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We honor and recognize Treaty 3 Territory Shoal Lake 40 First Nation, the source of Winnipeg's clean drinking water. In addition, we acknowledge treaty territories which provide us with access to electricity we use in both our personal and professional lives. So first, I'd like to provide a snapshot of early education, early childhood education in Manitoba. I'm sure there's commonalities across the nation, of course, but specific to Manitoba, I'd first like to share just something that we were talking about before everyone joined. The Manitoba Institute of Trade and Technology, which is one of the top 9 post-secondary institutions in Manitoba, announced about 3 weeks ago its complete closure, and it was very unexpected. They are trades focused and technology focused, but they house 8 programs that are not offered anywhere else in Manitoba. It was a complete surprise. We know the impact of international students and permits and whatnot. However, we had all felt Manitoba institutions were mitigating that issue, that concern. And with that announcement, the government had said that Red River College Polytech would support transitioning programs that either weren't offered anywhere else or that were highlighted to be essential. And they have 120 early childhood education seats. So I don't know what that looks like. That has been what my last 2 weeks has been focused on, is doing some mapping, looking at where students are. In my understanding, they are planning to close their doors by December completely. They have 3 campuses across Winnipeg, so this is a big impact to post-secondary education and training. So that'll kind of frame as well some of the things that I talk about at Red River College. So continuing on with the Manitoba context, of course, we face a shortage of early childhood educators and CCAs in the province. Estimates that it's about 2,000 that are needed just to survive, just to meet the need and not the growth. With that, we also know that childcare spots are in dire need in Manitoba. The government estimates over 24,000 spots are needed to respond again to immediate and small growth needs, like within the next 3 years. It's significant. Along that, we know that Indigenous children are greatly underrepresented in childcare centers across the province, especially in remote communities, and as well rural communities. So if you're familiar with Manitoba, we have Winnipeg and Brandon, which are far south, and they're kind of the hubs of the province, and then everything else is rural and remote. So with that, we know that those rural communities are in need. I was talking to a reeve of an RM, so a rural municipality, and it was an older gentleman, picture what you may, in his 70s, who'd been the reeve for 20 years. And he said, well, I'm getting this new childcare center, so how quickly can you get me some workers here? So I was explaining, the childcare assistant, this and that. And he says, well, I don't know anything about that, but I know if we don't have daycare, we can't have people living and working in our community. And I went, you're awesome. You get it. Okay. Right. So we can work with that. So in the last 2 years, it's expanding, to most people that I talk to, whether it be, someone unrelated to the field or these small communities or Indigenous communities, the focus is really on childcare. I'll share as well, one of the responses of the government was to have ready to move trailers to rural communities, which, I don't know if it's happening in other places. So what that looked like would be they would work with an existing childcare center and they would license them and they'd put a ready to move, spot, a trailer, for lack of better word. Beautiful, when they're all done, of course, but the immediate impact was no staff. So what we have right now is these ready to moves operating at maybe half capacity in a lot of communities because we don't have the early childhood educators to staff them. So that's kind of the snapshot of ECE in Manitoba. I would like to continue with a few more government initiatives over the last 2 years that have supported early childhood education. So the first one is wage increase. So in May 2025, Manitoba, Canada jointly announced the wage increase, as most of you know. It applied to all classification levels and positions in the wage grid, and it's just better aligned with the Manitoba Child Care Association and Market Competitive Salary Guidelines Index. With that, so our budget in Manitoba is set to drop in the next couple weeks, and of course the tidbits are starting to come out. And just on Friday, we heard that there was another wage increase planned for early childhood educators. I believe I saw $5 an hour in the ballpark. So it's a big, huge step in the right direction. Absolutely. Another initiative is the Recruit Back incentive. So this is set to begin right away with the new budget. It was announced previously. It's just taken some time to coordinate. So there's a recruitment incentive grant that provides $5,000 to ECEs who haven't worked in the sector for at least 2 years to come back to the sector, to return to work in a licensed and funded childcare center and make a commitment to work for 2 years full time. I'm guessing from what I hear, there's been a small number that with the last wage increase have kind of put their hands up and are exploring return. I'm guessing with this other wage increase that we're expecting, that might be possible that more educators return to the sector. The tuition reimbursement program, which has in part fostered the growth in our numbers at Red River College. So the Manitoba government for the last 2 years has been offering a $5,000 per school year reimbursement for tuition. And it's offered to all post-secondary institutions in Manitoba for an ECE2 or an ECE3. And so it was just announced that they're extending it to the 26-27 academic year. So I have students who have received their diploma and received $10,000 in tuition grants to cover the cost. So at Red River College, our tuition fees for domestic students are with related expenses are roughly $6,000 to $7,000 a year. So with that has been a significant impact to students. As we know, everything is increasing and we hear a lot from our students. They're needing to work, right? Evenings and weekends to support themselves to take the program. So this is definitely helpful. And the last one here is the staff replacement grant. So this will contextualize when I talk about our workplace program, our model that we offer. So the Manitoba Staff Replacement Grant helps licensed childcare centers and home-based providers cover the salary costs for substitutes while childcare assistants or licensees complete their early childhood education workplace training. So when I talk about the model, I'll talk about how this replacement grant supports not only the student but the centers in part to have up train their already existing CCAs. Okay, so early childhood education at Red River College Polytech. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the programs and initiatives that we have ongoing at Red River College Polytech. So we are the lead ECE trainer in Manitoba, and I had to double check this number, but 100% graduate satisfaction rate. So in the last 3 years, all of the graduating students get an exit, online. It's through our research department at the college about, program satisfaction, and, the experience of students is a real positive one. Always talking about how they're proud to be Red River College ECE students. So that's kind of a feather in the cap for us in terms of our satisfaction rate. And as well, the 97% employment rate in the first year after graduation. So majority of our students graduate already employed and maintain that employment at least for a year or secure employment by the end of the first year. So they get another survey in 1 year, and so 97% are employed. At Red River College, we also have an early child care center on site. So on one of our campuses, which is our main campus, we have a child care center. It currently has 53 spaces, and it has been granted funding to expand to create 74 new spaces. So it'll have a total of 127 spaces. So working in collaboration with Red River College because we lend the space for them to operate. We have a really strong relationship with the child care center. What that looks like is students, often there's observation rooms. We have a nature's playground, so students will go outside and observe or partake with children. They offer practicum sites. We have an ECE lab in the summer when all of our students are out on practicum. The school age program uses our lab, which allows for some of our students to participate in that programming as well. So in collaboration, the college is expanding the center, and we're working with the center as well to say, how can we increase the relationship? How can we add new ways of learning for students and new ways to support training your staff? So we're looking at things like, I use the term loosely, a lab space, more like a learning environment, a shared environment where students and staff and children can learn and be in the same space together. So shovels are supposed to hit the ground in the next couple months, so that's very exciting. We also have our research department, so early childhood development research, and that's Rob Santos's team. So we have kind of a competitive advantage here. We have the science of ECD research and delivery. So Rob's team offers SECD courses, widespread online, multiple times a year. And that is a course that allows for anybody to take and as their 45-hour CCA requirement course, and research on the abecedarian approach as well. The area has really strong partnerships with government, communities, and industry, as well as the ECE academic program. So we work closely together, making sure that we are aware of initiatives, that we're supporting one another, that our curriculum is being informed by this new research and research that they have come across. Of course, the capacity to scale research and innovation across Manitoba is a goal of ours, and as well looking at how we can continue to build upon researching what we're doing at Red River College. So one of the things that we are working on right now is developing in the early stages research on the workplace model. So we can take a look at that in the context of ECE sector in Manitoba. So in terms of the academic area, so this is kind of what I spend my days doing is working in the academic area. And so we offer a variety of different courses and programs, and I'll talk a little bit about each of them. The 45-hour courses for the CCA certification. So like I said, we offer that through the research department, through our continuing education. So that's the a la carte, right? Anybody can kind of go to the continuing education and take a course. So we offer child development and we offer the science of ECD. And from time to time, we offer guiding and play-based courses as well. We have the ECE diploma, 2-year diploma programs, and I'll talk a little bit more about them. We have two. It's our course-based registration program, our full-time program, and our workplace program. The Aboriginal Head Start ECE diploma, the Urban Circle ECE diploma, and the mentorship and ECE micro-credentials. So I'll talk a little bit about each of these as we move forward. So our ECE workplace program, I love this picture for a particular reason. So this student at the time, her name is Rebecca Regnier. This was her in her final year of the ECE workplace program. This was probably 9 years ago, and she is now a faculty member. She's a Red River Métis woman, and she works in our Urban Circle program. And so this is a full circle picture for us in terms of having her as a student, and she went on to complete additional education, and now she is back working as a faculty member. So the workplace program. So this is a 2-year diploma program. So we run it in 4 academic terms that are 15 weeks each. So we have intakes in fall and intakes in winter. This particular program does not have any courses in spring or summer. Okay. It's rooted in the recognition of prior learning. So when we developed this program, it was developed specifically for ECEs who had worked in the field for 2 years or longer full time. So when this has been around for about 11 years, this program, and so up until 9.5, almost 10 years ago, the requirement was 2 years of full-time verified. So we verify the hours, all that, and current full-time employment. That's an entrance requirement for the program. So we verify all of that. And that's because the program was designed, to recognize prior and existing learning of the student. It's an accelerated delivery. So what that means, even though the time is the same, 2 years, takes 2 years to complete both of our diplomas, the students spend less time in the classroom, and that's where that recognition of prior learning comes in. So students have 2 academic days per week, and then the remaining 3 days, they attend their workplaces. So how we timetable this for the micro details is that students either come on Monday, Tuesday, and then the next term we would start it on Thursday, Friday. Herein is where the staff replacement grant comes in. Okay, because centers can send, if they have 2 employees attending, one in year 1, term 1, one in year 1, term 2, they will get 4 days of substitute wage. Does that make sense? So what that looks like is that the student A is, coming to school Monday, Tuesday, and their substitute is in Monday, Tuesday, and then it flip-flops. And so I would say the majority of the centers take advantage of the staff replacement grant, whether they have 1 or 4 students attending. not to shine or take away any light from these initiatives and the great things it's done. I will say one pinch point that we've experienced increasingly over the last couple years with this program is when the sites are short-staffed or when unexpected things occur. Then there becomes this tension, and it's more between the student and the employer about what that looks like. Now, that being said, because it's rooted in RPL, we can work very closely with the student for those one-offs, right? Where something may occur in order for them to stay on track with their learning and meet all their competency hours. But I would say increasingly, whereas maybe 5 years ago, that was a non-issue, we're seeing that much more frequently now. So the work integrated learning, so those 3 days that they're working, they're doing their practicum hours in the site. So what that looks like is each cohort of students. So we take in 30 students. And so there's roughly 2 instructors assigned per cohort. And each instructor will have 15 students that they mentor or that they're practicum liaisons to their work sites. Their work sites, we have a work integrated learning department at the college, which manages all of our practicum agreements. So there is a legal practicum agreement completed with the workplace that lists the responsibilities of the student, responsibilities of the college, and of course of the site. With that, the mentor will at least a minimum of 3 visits a term. So the term is 15 weeks. So at least 3 times a term, the instructor will go out and observe and hang out and model if needed and talk to the on-site supervisor and complete checklists, observe assignments, whatever is required depending on what course they're in. So the courses are delivered in block format. So each course roughly takes 3 weeks to complete. And there is definitely the integration of the curriculum to be applied in their work sites as they are moving through the courses. So many of the assignments have a hands-on, right, application of theory or model or when they're working at the work site. So with the support of the work site, the mentor, and the liaisons, students will demonstrate their practical skills. And we have it in 4 broad categories, such as professionalism, guiding, play. And these are all approved by our CCQTC, which is our child care, I always can never remember this, Childcare Qualifications and Training Committee. And what they do is, well, it's not a certification because we don't have that in Manitoba. In order for our courses to be given the ECE 2 CCA, whatever equivalent, the CCQ, this is approved through the qualification. We also have our regular ECE program. So this is the same curriculum. It's the same courses. It's just delivered differently, and it's delivered across 15 weeks, and it's 2 years of a diploma program. So much more time in the classroom. This is a course-based registration program, and this is something new for Red River College. So it's been about 4 years since we moved to the course-based registration model. So that's the university model of, students self-register, select their courses, so on and so forth. They can be part-time. Before that, we were program-based. So it was very limited if a student was unsuccessful or wanted to go part-time. So this has a lot more flexibility for students. The 2-year diploma program is quite intense. It runs for 6 academic terms and they're consecutive. So students are in the program for 6 terms straight. And Their practicum currently sits in the spring, summer months. And there's 23 weeks total of practicum. So students are on site for 900 hours in the 2-year diploma program. So that's significant. It's a lot of time. It has its pros and cons in terms of how we've structured the delivery. We can talk about that later. I'm guessing there's going to be some questions about the practicum models that we have. Anyway, just it's right now, for example, heading into May, we're placing about 220 students on practicum. So that's a lot of students all at once heading out to do their practicums. And this is really exciting for me to share with you. So this is a real picture. It's a picture of our ECE Learning Lab. So about 2 years ago, the Manitoba government put out a call for post-secondary institutions to, solicit some money. And what are we going to do with it? So one of the things that we decided to do was ask for money to develop an ECE learning lab at our Exchange District campus. So that's unique. In Winnipeg, this campus is downtown. It's located amongst, heritage buildings, high business area. And so there's not a lot of health and community, actually, there's really no health and community services programming there. All of the graphic design and business admin programs kind of settled in there. It's our newest campus. And a couple of our faculty said, you know what, where there's kids in that area, there's kids in the inner city and core, there's daycare centers, we need to have an ECE presence. And so we wanted to offer ECE training as well as develop a lab. So this is our community services ECE learning lab at our downtown campus. You can see the children there. That's because children are there all the time. First thing, we also felt that we were, COVID kicked our butts into moving to an online, synchronous, asynchronous delivery. We weren't quite there yet as an institution, so we hurried up and got there out of necessity. But what we recognized is there's a lack of relational aspects in some of the modalities of our online education. And so we created a high flex learning space in that lab. And I just have to, I think it's so cool because as you can see, it looks like it is a really warm, inviting place for children, but the whole lab is outfitted with the most current technology, which allows for the program to be offered in an immersive high flex delivery. So when I say immersive, there's screens that will wrap around the room. Online learners feel like they're in the classroom. There's no raising your hand. You hear in real time. We have microphones all throughout the ceiling. We have cameras. There's about 4 different cameras that span who's talking in real time. It's been such a wonderful tool to deliver ECE education outside of the classroom. And so when I say high flex, one of the models that we have there, students attend either at home remotely or in person. And so we have circles where, the online folk are part of the circle. So the feedback about that has been really great. It also includes an ECE training lab for learners to use because as you can see, it's designed as a center may be. And so there is supplies, materials, activities, tables. They can use hands-on, they play, they build as part of their learning. Instructors, faculty can also use to record demonstrations. So when they are developing their asynchronous aspects of some of the courses, they can use that lab space, while there are students and children in the site. So I'll talk a little bit more about the community-based aspect of that program in a second. So actually, I'll talk about it right now. So this is our lab space in action. So as you can see here, we have children. You can see outside, it's very business-like. And inside we have a full-on party happening with the young people and our students and faculty. So the faculty early on, before the lab was even built, started to put their boots to the ground and visit childcare centers that were within a walking distance of the Exchange District campus. So they identified 3 childcare centers. So for the course of about a year, multiple instructors got to know the got to know the faculty, or got to know the staff and build relationships with the center and say, what's possible for us? And what they came up with was, let's bring the young children to the campus. Let them experience your learning lab. Let them teach your students. So it usually happens once a week for an hour or two. Children from any of the 3 childcare centers come into the classroom and partake in the class. I have a class photo I should have put up here of about 32 students wearing Red River College t-shirts because they say that's where they go to school, because they get to explore the campus and be part of the learning throughout their time at their childcare centers. Likewise, the students go out into the community. So again, you can see if you look in the background, this is a child care center. This is their outdoor space. It's in the middle of downtown. And so what our students do and what they have done is they pop-up play, right? They go out, they provide experiences for the children. Just last year, it was this childcare center, actually Kennedy Childcare Center. The students created a plan how to, rejuvenate, how to make this space, match the development, the needs of the children and the families. And the center actually proposed it and received a small grant to do part of the work. So relationship in its finest, transactional, supportive, and a lot of fun. The students, this was their cardboard challenge day and they just loved it. And lastly, an unexpected, I would say, part of having the ECE program at our downtown campus is that play knows no ages and no boundaries. So just down the block, these 2 buildings are Red River College Ploytech campus or buildings. You can see we've invited a couple daycare centers. This is Play in the Streets. So it was a day of play in spring last year. And we've also developed relationships with some of the unhoused and unsheltered individuals in the community. And so for being present and being outside, relationships have developed. 2 blocks down the way, we have a Solo Mission, which supports and feeds unhoused, unsheltered people in Winnipeg. And during this day of play, many of those individuals came down and partook in these events. So again, it was fully staffed by ECE faculty. The childcare centers brought their children, and everyone was able to partake in the day of play. We also have an Urban Circle partnership. So it offers the ECE diploma. So Urban Circle is an Indigenous community organization that offers training to Indigenous learners in Winnipeg and Manitoba. And so at Urban Circle Training Center, which is in the core area of the north end of Manitoba or of Winnipeg, they offer the diploma program. So it's offered in a supported environment. And there's 2 ECE faculty and an EA that work there. And then as well, Urban Circle provides life skills, so cultural-based life skills 1 day a week to support the students. A lot of the students have big lives outside of the classroom. And so being flexible, being responsive and being supportive is really core to that program. So they should be graduating their first group of students this July. About 20 students are set to graduate. Interesting as well, Macoonseg Daycare is located in the same building. It's an Indigenous focused childcare center. So many of the students experience either a practicum or learning in that space as well. We have also our Aboriginal Head Start program. And so this is in its second iteration. It's a program that's jointly funded by First Nations Inuit Health Branch, as well as the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. And it's for adult learners who live and work in First Nations communities in Manitoba. So we currently have over 50 students in the second cohort. They're 1 year in, and they live in over 30 remote communities throughout the province. This is something that my heart just burst because these students did not want to leave their community, to take education and training. And they wanted that brought to them in a meaningful way, not through asynchronous learning, not through someone, they were very clear. They said, we don't want someone flying in and delivering a course and then going home. We want to, have instructors that follow us and support us. And so through the First Nations Inuit Health Branch and AMC, they approached Red River College and we've developed this program. All of the students, so it's a workplace model. All of the students work in Aboriginal Head Start programs in Manitoba. They work Monday through Wednesday, and then they attend classes remotely on Thursdays and Fridays. This is a remote offering. However, I would say it's far from remote in terms of connection. And so this program offers Indigenous ways of knowing throughout the whole program and design. It's a relational model rooted in Indigenous knowledge created by our Indigenous Cultural Curriculum Advisor, faculty, and community members and elders. So very much so taking into consideration that, from 30 different communities, there's multiple different ways of learning and knowing in each of those communities. And so we build relationships with the community. We invite community members into the classroom. Building relationships is key. I can't say that enough. We do this through morning coffee. So Thursday, Friday, it's a morning coffee for a half an hour. There's homework club every Wednesday night, and the homework club has grown. It's not just, moms and dads who are in class, it's their children that are in school. Everyone sets up. They do online bingo nights, they do online scavenger hunts. It's keeping that connection with students and their families. We offer one on-campus day, optional day. We know that not everyone can travel, but what it has grown to is students rarely travel alone. Their whole families come with them, and they get to experience the college, and we honor them, to have a day on campus. I would definitely say meeting student needs is also core. We know in remote and Indigenous communities, there's often traumatic events that are unexpected and that occur. And in order to respect and honor, the cultural ways that communities process and deal, with these events, it means interruptions. It means interruptions to, a wake could go on for a week, or there might be a ceremony, that shuts the whole center for a week. So what that looks like is the relationship with that student, and helping them to succeed and still stay in the program. And lastly, we have our ECE mentorship micro credential course series. So this is newer. So this is geared towards ECE2s in the field. What we noticed is, you remember how I said you needed 2 years of education, 2 years of work before you entered the workplace program? Well, over the last couple years, it's been reduced to 1 year, and then it was reduced to 6 months. And that was in order to widen our net for training, right? We had kind of tapped out the 2 years. We had hit a threshold of those who had worked for 2 years, and constantly sites were asking, hey, I've had this worker for 9 months. She's awesome. I'd love her to be an ECE2. I'd love, him to be full-time, but I can't unless he's an ECE2. So we reduced it temporarily to 6 months. But this is our second year of doing that. And what we have noticed is the mentorship need for our students on practicum has greatly increased. So, about a year ago, we developed the mentorship micro-credential course series. So this is a micro-credential in how to mentor, not only students, but staff. So it talks about the feedback loop, your role as a mentor, self-awareness as a mentor, resources, the difference between mentorship and management. And it's a 4-course series. The courses are often offered online and they're $400 each, and they're 5 weeks for 2 hours a week. And 1 hour is synchronous and 1 hour is asynchronous. So it's not a big time commitment per se. And we are just starting to see an uptake in these courses, and they start every couple months. So we're hoping that after a year of this running, we will see some impacts to the mentorship and supervision of not only students, but of staff. That's what we're doing here in Manitoba at Red River College Polytech.